Lavender data shows that sellers that personalize their cold emails are getting 1,200% more replies than their counterparts that are using automated templates. So, we know it's important to do, but there's a lot of misconceptions about what personalization is, right? Just because it's personalized doesn't mean it's good. Why should you take the time to personalize when you can blast out 100 times more emails with a template and hopefully get the same amount of replies? Can you personalize at scale? How do you personalize when the person isn't on social media? How do you make personalization relevant? These are all questions that we're going to answer in this deep dive on personalization. But, as we always do on this show, we're going to get a little help from our friends.
Welcome to the prospecting game. I'm the email wizard and my reply rates are currently higher than inflation. Anyway, let's meet our contestants. Contestant number 1 is an SDR hailing from Boston, Massachusetts. He enjoys golf simulators, Patagonia vests, and pretending he knows more than you. Let's hear it for Greg! Our second contestant has missed quota 13 months running. He enjoys sending out lots of emails all at once, hanging out in spam filters, and is currently on a pitch. Give it up for Tom!
Wait, that's me?
Not even remotely funny, Tom. Finally, our last contestant is a seasoned SDR coming straight out of SF, a Gemini that has been at the bottom of the leaderboards for 9 months running. Loves mass sends and blaming marketing. Let's hear it for Rihanna! All right, folks, we've met the contestants. Now let's meet the prospect. She's a chief revenue officer at a Series C tech startup by day and a barnyard brawler by night. When she's not breaking sales records, she's breaking backs in amateur UFC. She's a TikTok star and no stranger to a podcast mic. Let's meet Cindy.
Hey, everyone.
All right, let's get started. Cindy, tell us a little more about this barnyard brawling.
Well, Wizard, when you get as much bad email as I do, sometimes you just need a release.
Those poor SDRs. All right, let's hear your first question, Cindy.
SDR number 1. If you were reaching out cold, how would you show me I'm the only one you're emailing?
This is one of the most important things you can do when reaching out. Buyers are inundated with emails. If the email doesn't feel like it was just for them, they will default to ignoring it. This is where the term personalization comes from. The email needs to feel personal to them. Different experts have different names for this level of personalization. There are different ways to approach it, but the goal is to show the person that you're reaching out to that this email could have only been sent to them. Lavender data shows that mass sends get on average a 1.3% reply rate. Compare that to the average one-to-one email getting a 16.9% reply rate. You can see why it's so important to personalize.
Well, Cindy, I started by looking at your LinkedIn profile to see what college you went to.
Here we go.
Yeah, then I built rapport by opening with, "Hey, Cindy, I noticed you went to UCLA. That's so cool. I love the Sunshine State."
Now, there are good ways to personalize and bad ways. The elite email writers don't just find a random fact about their prospect and stick it in their email. Instead, they research the prospect, their company, and the market they work in deeper to find ways to make their message relevant to both the product that they're selling and the recipient's current situation. They look for a range of things, starting with simple things like what the company does and what the recipient's role is, to more in-depth research like podcasts that they've been on, social media posts, open jobs at the company, the executive team's public comments, technologies that the company is using, and really anything that they can get their hands on to dig deeper. One of the biggest misconceptions about the term personalization is that it needs to be personal. They get stumped when a prospect isn't active on social. It's rare that a prospect doesn't at least have a LinkedIn profile serving as a resume, right? So you can look for contrasts or trends in their experience to start to understand their mindset, how they might approach their current role. But even if social media is just a dead end, lean into company announcements, news and events around that company. Search for anything to make your outreach relevant.
Okay. Prospect 2, same question.
I'd start with a first name token because the email is going to 227 other prospects as well. But to really drive it home, I'd also use a company token and a industry token. That way, you know it was made special for you.
And, what would that sound like?
Hey, Cindy. It must be very difficult keeping all those salespeople busy over at Company Lee. I have lots of clients in the SaaS industry driving 10x revenue with my tool. And that's just the beginning.
This is what most salespeople call personalization at scale. While it sounds clever, it's an oxymoron. There's no personalization here, only segmentation. Sales teams often try to trick their prospects into thinking that the email was personalized to them by using tokens to input things like their name, the company, industry, and other information that they bought from data providers. And while this may have worked 10 years ago, and the latest hack might even be working right now, no, you're playing a game of cat and mouse. Buyers see these tricks every day, and they are quick to realize that they are part of a massive sin, and guess what? There's no love lost when they hit unsubscribe or mark as spam, because when you personalize at scale, that's exactly what you're sending, spam. And yes, you might get 5 meetings when you spam 700 prospects in 20 minutes, and getting 5 meetings with a true personalized approach might feel harder. But in the first example, you just burned 695 contacts, destroying your email deliverability for the entire company. This is just not the case when you truly personalize. When you send one-to-one emails instead of one-to-many, the percentage of success goes up by a ridiculous amount.
Okay, Seller 3, I guess you're up.
Oh, glad you asked, Cindy. I'm not like these two buffoons. I did a little research after you were announced.
Ooh.
And noticed that you just raised your Series C. Congrats.
Oh.
So I'd start with that, and then I'd reference how hard it must be to spend it all right now and let you know how we can help. Problem, solution.
What did I get myself into?
But we're the industry leading...
You might be thinking to yourself, but wait, didn't they personalize the email based on a relevant, triggering moment? The seller reached out because the prospect recently raised a round of funding. Isn't that a good start? But you see, the problem is the prospect just raised a round of funding, and every single seller in their inbox is currently congratulating them and pitching them their product. It gets categorized in the reader's mind with the personalization at scale crowd because sellers can automate outreach based on moments like this. And so the buyer figures it out. A better example of how to pitch someone who recently raised a round of funding might look something like this. So the subject line, John Smith's comments. Let's say John Smith is the company's CEO. And then the email will start. In your press release, John spoke about EMEA expansion and adding new product lines. Acme studied 40,000 B2B sellers in EMEA to compare how top reps versus average reps cross-sell high-margin solutions. Want to check it out? Curious to see how it compares with what you're seeing. Either way, congrats on the funding. See the difference? While the round is mentioned, it's only one layer of why the seller is reaching out. The seller is also winning major brownie points by recognizing that 99% of the emails in this person's inbox are asking for a cut of the recent round. Taking a give first approach instead of being yet another seller making an ask because the cash is there means this reader is much more likely to want to engage. That's just another layer of situational awareness that you can use in your personalization efforts to stand out. It's understanding where they're coming from and how they're going to experience their inbox.
Okay, seller number 2. We actually did just get our Series C, and I'm trying to aggressively scale my team. You sell a recruiting tool. How would you personalize your outreach?
Should I pretend like you didn't tell me that? Because I probably wouldn't have known that going in.
Forget it. Seller 3?
Amateur hour over here. Cindy, I'd start the same way I did in question 1. Because, yeah, I knew that. But relevance is even more important, right?
Okay.
So, I drop every feature in a bulleted list that relates to your business.
I'm not sure that's how relevance is achieved.
P.S. It would only take 27 minutes for me to tell you more. Can I get that Calendly?
Remember how we talked about relevance? It's important to do it in a way that doesn't trigger your prospect's mental spam filter. Feature dropping is a surefire way to do that. You're making the message about you. Personalization means you're making the message about them. And of course, the data backs this up. When you're feature dropping, we tend to use informative tones. We're informing them about our product. Those tones tank your reply rates by 26%. While initial personalization can get them interested in reading, if we bait and switch the reader and we start talking about ourselves, they will quickly lose interest. We're selfish people, right? And so instead of dropping every single feature that might loosely relate to the problems you think they might have, ask them about the problems instead. Show genuine interest in their situation and their challenges. And of course, you can reference what you do to provide a little bit of credibility towards why you're asking these questions and why you're reaching out, but that should never be the star of the show in a cold email. Think of the email as an invitation to a conversation where you need to get them curious enough to want to pull for more information. You'll never get the meeting without the reply. So shift your mindset from driving conversions to starting conversations.
Okay, I have work to do. I don't have time for this.
Hey, just checking in. I never got to answer.
Is he for real? Unsubscribe.
Well, that's all the time we have today, folks. It's more than we thought we'd get. Make sure to join us next time when we welcome 3 new sellers and Jim, a CISO from the Fortune 100.